your end of chapter questions, the ones that are different depending on which book you have. Okay. Crud! Shoot. Well, did it again. And there we go. Let's see if this will work. Okay, hold on everybody. Even the computer's getting tired. Okay, let's try this again. Wait a second. Everybody's having internet issues today? Yes. Yes. So true. I feel like I've had quite a few though lately. Okay. You guys, the history of massage therapy. So, I don't know if the book actually gets into this part, but what's interesting about the history of massage therapy, in my mind, is a couple of things. One is that there are separate histories of massage therapy, and I don't mean ones that contradict each other, I mean this. I mean, massage seems to have spontaneously arisen in unconnected cultures. Now, don't misunderstand me. Some of the first written records we have of massage date back to China, like 3,000 years ago, and those are written records. We think that massage goes way back before then. We also have evidence the Egyptians were doing massage, and we'll see stuff like, it's not unusual to see stuff from China spread to other areas in Asia, right? That makes sense, and to see derivations of that massage take place. But we actually see massage get spontaneously created where it wasn't taken from China. It seems to be a very natural thing to do. And if you think about it, when you bump your leg into a table or something, one of the first things you do is you immediately go to rub it. Yeah, sorry, it's a very visceral experience, yeah. But anyway, when you gently knock your leg into a table, your first instinct quite often is to rub it, grab it. We often will do that when our muscles are sore. We don't even really have to be kind of taught that. And so there does seem to be this kind of innate, built-in human need, I don't know, habit to massage things that we see in multiple cultures, even when the cultures weren't connected. So I'd just like to kind of point that as a history overview. That is one of the really fascinating things. The other fascinating thing I just mentioned, which is how darn old massage is. It dates back as some of the earliest medical practices. And those two things, I think it's kind of neat that you guys are learning this very ancient art, and yet it is getting a very modern twist these days. Massage has gone mainstream, really mainstream, and it is considered a medical practice. Honestly, that just changed, really changed. I mean, we will see in history that there are some people trying to put it into that, but if you're in the United States of America and you were a massage therapist when I was first a massage therapist just 25 years ago, and you went to a doctor and talked about massage, they'd be like, yeah, well, sure, if you think it'll help. But they didn't care. They didn't believe in it. And now doctors actually prescribe it. It's becoming a mainstream medical thing. Very, very big change that's happening just in our lifetimes. So I think you guys are going to see a real explosion of this craft. And for those of you that are going to go into a very medically oriented massage, that's very exciting. For those of you that aren't, that's still exciting too, because it's this ancient art that you get to practice. You know, that's as old as the hills. It has a real spiritual import to it as well. It just kind of satisfies these two wonderful things. Let's briefly go over this just to help you with your test and all that good stuff. Let's go. We have cave paintings, by the way, they're absolutely right, that go back a long time, 15,000 years. That, by the way, your book says indicates the use of massage. There is some argument about that, just to be honest with you. So, and I don't have an opinion on it, I just meant there's some argument about it, but we think there's some type of manipulations going on. It's very hard to tell from the cave paintings what's going on with some things, but some people see that as early evidence of massage. The written record stuff we really look at because it's real solid evidence where massage is being used in traditional Chinese medicine, and it's part of traditional Chinese medicine. And the original massage was called Ama, and this actually goes back before other forms of massage. So in Japan you have shiatsu, and I don't mean to insult anybody who is from Japan, but it was definitely taken from Ama. The Chinese really were there first, and they really developed this thing that other people took and changed. But it really is probably Ama is probably the oldest form of massage that we have a record of an actual massage. We've got pictures of people and it looks like they might be rubbing each other, and they probably were, but it wasn't a described practice of how to address a body. And in China, we have the first records of that dating back 3,000 years. Super cool. We also see it in India, about that far back. And that's where it's used in in their type of medicine, which is called Ayurvedic medicine, or Ayurveda. Ayurveda. And Ayurvedic medicine includes massage, by the way. It includes herbs and all sorts of other stuff, just like Chinese medicine does too. But that is the basis of massage in India, and it's been around forever. And I tell you this because if you work for a spa, it's not unusual for them to train you in like Ayurvedic treatments and things like that, because they're very popular, because they're believed to be very healing, all that good stuff, and they use all sorts of incredible aromatic herbs and oils, so they make for fun spa treatments too. Shiatsu, which I just explained, was really taken from Ama, but shiatsu means finger pressure, and like most Eastern massage, most Eastern massage does not use a lot of oil. It doesn't mean never, but not usually, and it usually is pressure point type of work. And, as we've discussed before too, it's massage that's believed to help free up the rivers of energy that flow through your body. And so, I'm oversimplifying here, but those massages would say the knots in your body are a representation of blockages in those rivers of energy. Hippocrates is the father of Western medicine, and he was one of the first people from a Western point of view to promote massage. Really was. And that's where we get the Hippocratic Oath from. And the Hippocratic Oath is do no harm, which is why I always say you test the carpet, right, when you have a new product. So do no harm means when in doubt, you back off a little bit. And that doesn't mean, just like Miss Estes and I were talking about, that you're not aggressive at times, but there is a judiciousness about it. And sometimes we go, let's wait till next week to try that out, and just make sure your body handles this well first. But anyway, Hippocrates was a big believer in massage and water therapies too. The Greeks were really into water therapies. Greek and Roman baths and all that good stuff. Well, you will not need to know any of these other people. They're hardly ever talked about. So, super duper important. Honestly, probably not, like in many ways, not the greatest massage person ever, but from a Western point of view, everybody knows Per Henrik Ling. If you get a history question about massage, and there's only going to be one question, that massage is going to be, who is the father of Swedish massage? And the answer to that question, even though it may not be true, is Per Henrik Ling. So Per Henrik Ling seemed to develop something called Swedish remedial gymnastics. Actually, your book says massage, but it's Swedish remedial gymnastics. And it was a system of moving the body around and rubbing it. Very much like what we're doing today, to be very honest with you. It's Swedish massage. It really is. So he probably invented Swedish massage. I say that because there's some stuff when you dig down deeper in the history that suggests that maybe some other people helped him with this, and I'll explain that in a second. But that's the answer. But if you ask any massage therapist well, and they know any history, they'll say Per Henrik Ling is the father of Swedish massage, and he developed a system. So he's the first guy to kind of come along in the West and say, I'm going to codify a system for how we rub the body, right? And that's where you get movements like effleurage, petrissage, right, tapotement. Those are classic Swedish movements that come from Per Henrik Ling. Now, he didn't name the movements, but he wrote them down. Somebody else came along and named them. Those are actually French terms, and he's not French. He's Swedish. So somebody else came along and called them effleurage and petrissage and all those wonderful things. But they were doing that for Per Henrik Ling. So anyway, father of Swedish massage, Per Henrik Ling. And the reason he's such a big deal is if you think about it in the West you can actually argue that a lot of massage comes from Swedish massage. I mean, I don't want to oversimplify, but you can argue that if you do an effleurage with your elbow, that now you're doing deep tissue. Right? So a lot of our stuff is Swedish based. It really, really is. Johan Mesger is the guy who actually gave the names to Swedish massage of effleurage, petrissage, and tapotement. And we still use all that stuff today. That's right. What does tapotement mean? Thank you. Hitting. It means striking, rhythmic striking. What does petrissage mean? You guys are the best. Yes. Yeah. Making biscuits like a kitten. Yeah. Kneading bread. Yeah, exactly. And effleurage we all know is the... What is effleurage? Yes, just because I want to see you guys do. Thank you so much for this moment right now. Oh my God. Okay. Florence Nightingale was a famous nurse, and she thought massage was an integral part of treatment, especially in rehab stuff for soldiers and such. So she gets a shout out. I'm not going to do that. George, the Taylor brothers, both of them really, wrote the first American textbook on Swedish massage. And so they're famous because they're famous for bringing Swedish massage to the United States by writing a textbook about it. That's what they're famous for. They wrote the first book that we used over the United States and really helped create this movement in the United States of Swedish massage being a healing modality. And that's the Taylor brothers. And guys, I suspect you will never mention those names again after today, just to let you know. Per Henrik Ling is probably the main thing to remember here, and that massage is very ancient. But anyway, these guys are responsible for bringing it to the United States. We don't have to do that too. Nysen is a guy that opened the Swedish Health Institute in the United States, and it's the first massage school in the United States. So your book mentions it for that reason. I don't have anything to say about him. There's actually not a tremendous amount of stuff about him except that he did a lot of publishing, which really helped further make people aware of massage. Kellogg. And does the name sound familiar? Are you rolling your eyes because the question at the back of the chapter? Yeah, okay. But the name should sound familiar as the breakfast cereal. Because he was involved in all sorts of health stuff. And he invented, I realize this probably isn't even in the book, but he invented stuff like putting grains into flakes and such so that you could eat them because he said they were more healthy. And there's a lot of truth to that until we made frosted flakes. I guess they got less healthy then, but the flakes were pretty good. So anyway, he ran health retreats and things like that. And massage was a big thing for him as well. And so he helped get that in the public eye as well. And so he's pretty famous, but he's pretty famous for a lot of stuff actually, like Kellogg's. The Society of Trained Masseuses is actually, we don't use the term masseuse anymore, just to let you know. Most massage therapists don't like the term. They think it is an unprofessional term to use. It's never bothered me, but they prefer massage therapist. But at the time the Society of Trained Masseuses was created in Great Britain, you didn't have to have any professional licensure, and people were doing crazy things under the name of massage. Crazy other treatments that you would not recognize as massage. You know, pouring oil on somebody's wound and lighting it on fire. And so people were getting very hurt. And this group got together and said, we need to professionalize this thing and create standards and make sure that you're not getting hurt. And honestly, it's the exact concept of what you're doing in the school right now. You know, the concept is we know there's all types of massage and we want you all to graduate doing your own thing, but we need to create some professional standards so that the public does not get hurt. And that's what they did. And they're the first to do it. They're quite famous for that concept of really starting to professionalize what was, you know, crazy snake oil kind of treatments and stuff like that that people were just all calling massage. And it was downright dangerous. You don't have to do any of that. Anybody ever heard of the Esalen Institute? It's still around today. It's in California. For all my hippies out there, it's a cool place to go to. I guess it's cool if you're not a hippie, but they still do massage there. It's very hippy-dippy. I don't know another way to put it. Lots of drum circles, and you stay with a roommate that you didn't know, so you can get to know each other, and you get to do massage, and lots of people doing, and I don't mean this like in a sexual term, but lots of people are like, we don't need to wear clothes, we can do massage, and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, but they're actually very well respected. I've never been. I've talked to lots of friends who've gone, and they said it was great. They just loved it. But it's a really neat retreat for those of you that like to be free and go learn massage and stuff. So I encourage you, it's still around, it's been around forever, and that's kind of cool. And it was founded long before probably anyone here, including myself, was born. So in 1962. And they are still to this day very cool about mind, body, spirit, you know, massage, the whole thing. So it's a very neat place. Ida Rolf. Ida Rolf invented Rolfing. And in my mind, this was the most therapeutic, progressive thing that happened to Swedish massage in the United States. So until Ida Rolf came along, in the United States, you got a Swedish massage. And that was it. And they were great. And people focused on circulation a lot. So they'd rub you really vigorously, but not kind of do deep tissue type stuff. They wouldn't dig. They wouldn't do that kind of stuff. And Ida Rolf had a son who had a degenerative disease where his, kind of like my hand actually, where things would shorten up and his tendons and ligaments would shorten up over time and he would kind of pull it on himself. And Ida Rolf found out that if she focused on the connective tissue, not so much the muscles, but if she got into that deep connective tissue, like the stuff I'm telling you guys to get into, like the stuff right around the sacrum, right around the origins and insertions where all the connective tissue is, and she used a very deep, very slow technique, she could actually stretch out his connective tissue, and she had to do it every so often, but her son could live a fairly normal life. Like she could open back up his body. And she is the first person to really introduce structural massage. Deep tissue, no nonsense, structural massage. And for many years, there was only one school to go to it, and that was the Rolf Institute in Boulder, Colorado. And since then, by the way, I think there's been some like infighting in the organization and copyrights have been pulled off. There's derivations of Ida Rolf's Rolfing. But for many years that I was a massage therapist, that was the only place to go for Rolfing, and they would not let you apply to go to the school until you had graduated from a school like ours and done massage professionally for 5 years. They felt that you didn't understand the body well enough to come learn the intense deep tissue, the intense connective tissue work they were doing, structural work, until you had really been out in the field for a while. And then you had to apply and not everybody got in. And many massage therapists agree with this, by the way, not to depress you, but many massage therapists say, I didn't really know what I was doing until I was about 5 years in. Because it takes a lot of practice. They say it takes about 5,000 hours of practice before you start to really get it, really be able to visualize what's going on there, really know what you're touching, really do all that stuff. And in the Rolf Institute, you really got to know your anatomy really well. Because if you're going deep on something and not doing the right thing, that's a problem. But they really do look at the body like a chiropractor does. They don't want to adjust you like a chiropractor does, but they really do look at like, why are you bending these certain ways? And they're looking for scar tissue holding patterns, which is connective tissue, and fascial holding patterns where I've done it. And they are trying to stretch that out. And it's the initial service is usually done in 10 sessions. And each session looks at a different section of your body. So you might go in, like Miss Estes, you just probably had one on your hips today. That would be one session, right? And then they'd be like, oh, it is traveling up your shoulders. We're going to look at just your shoulders, just your neck, and it's very aggressive, but I will say it's very slow and all that kind of stuff. And most Rolfers, they want to see you for all 10 sessions, and then they'll do follow-up, like tune-up sessions after that, but they are really looking for that. And if they find scar tissue and things like that, they are going deep enough to re-damage the scar tissue on purpose to break it up and have it form in the right manner. So they're looking for holding patterns that have formed incorrectly. And that's Ida Rolf. Somebody just raised their hand? No? Oh, yes. Miss Mejia, sorry.
I have a question. I'm not sure if you could answer this. Do you think a Rolf technician person would be able to identify like scar tissue from like endometriosis?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I think they'd be able to, I don't know. I just don't even know that. I used to actually work with a Rolfer. This is so long ago though. But I used to work with a Rolfer who would, when I was like pretty fresh out of school, who would do Rolfing sessions, and I would do the follow-up session to help them heal properly. Kind of like I was talking to you, Miss Estes, about, you know, like going back in there and flushing stuff out and making sure everything kind of healed in the right direction, stretching them out as they healed from the Rolfing session. They sure are good at finding scar tissue. I don't know if they'd be able to identify what it was from, all that kind of stuff, but it wouldn't shock me. Yeah, they're pretty impressive. They are very well-trained massage therapists in no-nonsense massage. So I'm guessing, but I would guess yes. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's Ida Rolf. Very cool. Rolfing's very cool if you're interested in it. I, by the way, compared it to deep tissue, which is a legitimate comparison, but don't ever say that to a Rolfer. They get really upset. They're Rolfers. They're not deep tissue therapists. And by the way, you guys, when you graduate here with your certificate and you apply for your license, if you want to call yourself a structural massage therapist, you can, legally. You are. You want to call yourself a deep tissue master, you can. Pregnancy massage, you can. Reflexologist, you can. You cannot call yourself a Rolfer. It's a copyrighted name. You have to be a Rolfer to call yourself a Rolfer. Does that make sense? So it's actually a copyrighted name, a copyrighted massage. By the way, all of you can develop your own copyrighted massage and do the exact same thing if you want to. And there's a lot of money in it. So if you come up with some really cool way to work the body, I heavily encourage you to tell me about it so I can I heavily encourage you to consider that. Like if you come up with some cool new stuff, it can really be neat. And then what happened was all sorts of professional massage associations started popping up in the US. We still have them today. And the thought was originally that they would get to a national licensing kind of program. They've been working at that for a long time. I shouldn't say it may never happen. The states all have to get together and work together nicely to have that happen. We are getting to a point where reciprocity is getting easier, but national licensing doesn't look like it's going to come around. Back to your homework, there is a national exam, but don't get confused that an NBLEX exam is a national license. It's not. It just allows you to apply for licenses in many other states that want to have a national exam passed. But a lot of people will be like, I'm nationally certified. Yes, you're nationally certified with some big massage organization. That doesn't mean you're nationally licensed. It doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it adds to your credential, but it doesn't doesn't allow you to leave Arizona and work in another state without a license, period. Yes, Miss Sarno.
Yeah, I heard about international license, like the martial art license, and I heard my friend talk about that and how it.
There is, well, in the United States, there is no national license. There just is not.
Oh, okay.
No. You can get nationally certified, and so people that do get kind of confused, but that is not a license.
Okay.
Now, some states will say, hey, you can come massage in Colorado, and if you're nationally certified by taking this test, then you can apply for a license, and they still want to check out your schooling. It's not just that test. And then if you pay this fee, we'll give you a license, but you would have to do that in every single state you went to, and you'd have to maintain all those licenses. There is no national license.
Not international license too.
And there is no international license that allows you just to work anywhere. I will say this though, by the way, if you go overseas in some places in Europe, there's no licensing whatsoever. They don't care. And there are some states in the United States that don't care. You know, I mean, California, which is right next door to us, has statewide certification, and most places require it, but the government doesn't require it. It's not illegal for you guys to go to California right now and massage people. Now, a place may not hire you because they'll say, "Oh, we want you to have that. We want you to have California certification," but you're not breaking the law. You can just go be a massage therapist in California right now if you want. And there's one or two other states here in the United States you can do that still. But most require a license. And yeah, I don't know of any international or national license that lets you go anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Because I heard my friend say, "Oh, I will look into international massage license." I think really, and
No, there's not.
will traveling with that every, but I'm not sure.
No. I think there are a lot of places you could travel to that wouldn't care because they don't have a license, but no. In fact, I get Canadian, when I used to work with the Princess, we get Canadian massage therapists because we had hotels up there. Canadian massage therapists go to like 2 or 3 years of schooling instead of our 8 months. And they'd come down here and they'd be really upset because they couldn't massage down here. They had to apply for a license like you guys, and it was even harder for them because our Arizona State Board would say, we don't recognize your Canadian school. So even though they have 3 times the training, we do all that kind of stuff. So there really just is not. You've got to apply for a license everywhere you go. And then what does TAPSCOT say? Once you get a license in another location, you keep it forever. Once you get your Arizona license, you keep it forever. Now, this has been my favorite class ever, so I'm okay if you guys don't keep it forever and have to come back and take this class again, because I would like to see each and every one of you again. But you'll save yourself $4,000. And this, I think, is one of the first classes I've had that hasn't had some massage therapists coming back to redo their license. In the last class I did, I had somebody who had been a massage therapist forever, said, oh, I'm not going to do it anymore, let their license lapse for 5 years, and they're like, oh, I want to do massage again, and had to go back to school. So, but you can keep 47 licenses if you want. Don't ever let them go. Some of these national associations are the ABMP, the Associated Bodywork and Massage Professionals, the AMTA, the American Massage Therapy Foundation, the NCBTMB, which is the National Certification Board of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork. And yes, I was reading that off my slide because I can never remember what those acronyms stand for. All 3 are considered in high regard. And by the way, these are great places to get free insurance from while you're in school. I think all 3 of them you can get kind of, or at least 2 of them, you can go online right now, get free insurance to kind of cover your liability while you're going to school. They'll give you a monthly newsletter that I have to admit, some of them are really good. I mean, really good. Like the newsletters have information about new techniques and how to solve like frozen shoulder or some problem, all that kind of stuff. They're very good. And they'll often give you free continuing ed just for being a member because they want to grow their membership. And so I would encourage you to sign up for some national organization, to go online, research that. Feel free to do that after this lecture, which is just about over. Yeah. But I found them to be helpful, and I'm not a big one about joining organizations, and I'm not a big one on newsletters, but the stuff they send me is really interesting. It's really interesting about different therapies and all sorts of stuff, and it's useful information you can use that day. And they even put out video trainings and all sorts of stuff. Yes, Miss Walker, please.
These ones that you have listed there, these are different from the MBLEX though, right?
So the MBLEX, oh gosh, I gotta remember which one. The MBLEX came from one of these. The MBLEX is just a test.
So the MBLEX test is one of the tests you take to get one of these certifications.
Yes, and the MBLEX test is also, here's what's confusing about it. Yeah, you can get nationally certified, I forget from which one, I think it's the National Certification Board. You can get nationally certified by them, and one of the things you have to do, I think, is take the MBLEX, and you have to meet some other requirements of theirs. They're really picky. And some people, I had a student a year or so ago who, well, Miss Borish, who's been in before, is nationally certified because she wanted the certification. And so she took the MBLEX and jumped through their other hoops. What's confusing is the MBLEX is the only national test out there, so many states use the MBLEX. They don't care if you're nationally certified, but they just use that test to say, take this test and prove to us that you should be a massage therapist in our state. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. It's just then a follow-up question. So our state just doesn't require us to pass that test, or we have our own different test to pass?
No, our state uses the MBLEX too, but I have very good news for those of you who haven't been paying attention in class as much as you should. You will not have to take the MBLEX because our state board says if you come from a non-certified school or you come from a school outside the state, even if you got the right hours, we want you to take the MBLEX. But they literally say if you go to Gateway Community College, because our certifying board is a college level certifying board, they say we trust that you are teaching to the level that you need to teach and you don't have to have your students take the MBLEX. So none of you have to take the MBLEX if you don't let your license lapse, all that kind of stuff. But you will all be able to just pass this class and go apply for your license. You will not have to take the MBLEX. If you go to another state, it's very likely you'd have to take the MBLEX. If you have a friend coming here, it's very likely they'll have to take the MBLEX. If you have a friend here that's going to a non-certified school, they will graduate and have to take the MBLEX. But you will not. So this state uses the MBLEX, but you won't use it.
I think they looked on that National Certification Board of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork, and you also have to, one of the requirements was you had to attend a certain school. And I think our school is on there.
Yeah, it is, and actually I think that's thanks to Miss Borish. She said, I want to get nationally certified, and I said, wow, actually I haven't done that, and I've never had a student do that, so I got all the stuff sent in to get our school certified, which was a bit of a chore too, but now our school's certified, so yes, you guys can become a nationally certified therapeutic massage and body worker. Yes, which is through the NCBTMB. But I still think you have to take the MBLEX, but you also have to go to a certified school, which we are. You're absolutely right. Thank you. You are at a school that will get you your Arizona license without taking the MBLEX and will allow you to get nationally certified if you want. We meet all the criteria. And actually, it's up on my wall here behind the thing. I just saw our certification thing that says we're legit. We had to meet all sorts of requirements, which we do. So we were fine. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Miss Mia.
I don't understand why they have a thing to be nationally certified if it's not even accepted, like, within all the states. Like, you can't practice if you have that anywhere, right? So what's the point in having it?
Well, so a couple things. If I had to guess, I would guess the NCBTMB was hoping that it would become a national certification, right? If you're a national organization, that's a really smart move to make. Like, they're hoping, and it kind of almost worked. All these states said, we'll accept the MBLEX that you guys created. Like, that's pretty cool. And some states do say, if you're nationally certified by them, we'll take that too, because we know you took the MBLEX to get that way. Like, so it has kind of worked that way, but I think they were hoping that it would become a national license and not just a national certification. That's reason one. Reason two is Some schools require only 500 hours, but for a while there, some states only required 100 hours. And so these guys came along and said, no, there has to be some type of legitimate standard where people know when they're getting a really good massage therapist, even though in Montana they only require 100 hours. And so they created a national standard so places could say, no, we understand you've got a Montana license, but that's not good enough. You're working at a high-end spa here. We want you to be nationally certified. It was a way to kind of raise the standard. Even if there isn't a national license, you can have a national standard. And so it's good for that. And there are some real high-end places that will say, we like our therapists to be nationally certified, even though they could be licensed either way. So I do think it was kind of like the original idea of trying to raise the professional standards. And that's true in a lot of industries if you think about it, where they have this other thing that you didn't have to get to actually practice, but it says I'm extra special. Yeah. Ms. Walker, please. T.
So that brings up a question I was going to ask, actually. When I looked on there, it said you had to have 750 hours, and our school only does 700. Do you know if, like, you just have to get 50 extra hours of continuing education or something?
Well, that would be my guess. I'm going to have to ask Ms. Borish and ask her what she did for the 50, because I forgot about that part. I suspect exactly that. Continuing ed, or you could reach out to them and ask. They probably accept all sorts of other stuff. She was going to physical therapy assistant school, so she probably had those hours with some other stuff too.
Okay.
But yes, that would be one route, is you could get continuing ed for the extra 50 hours. Yeah. But your education, just so you know, your education here counts. Otherwise, if we weren't a certified school, your 700 hours wouldn't count at all, as far as they're concerned. So at least you're guaranteed that they're like, oh, your 700 hours are coming from a certified school. We trust that school. We'll count those as 700 hours. Now where's your 50? And the part I don't know is what they'll accept for the final 50, meaning I suspect they'll accept continuing ed. I don't know if they'll accept all continuing ed, or if they're very specific about, we want you to have extra 50 hours in pathology. I don't know. I'll have to talk to Ms. Borish. She's the only person I know who's actually gotten this certification from our school. But she did get it, so there's a way to do it. And where did I have another hand? Did I? Anybody else? I can't see it. I saw it pop. Oh, Mr. Blygen, please, sir.
Do you know if you have to maintain residence in a specific state in order to apply for a license in that state to work?
Yes and no. It depends on what state. So, some states to file for reciprocity, yes. Some do not. I don't even want to say most states because I haven't researched all 50 states. But from the ones I've seen, usually if you're seeking reciprocity, which means I'm basically going to prove to you I've got the education you're asking for, I just got it in another place, and I'm going to take the test you require, and I'm going to pay the fees you require, that's it. You don't need residence. There is something called universal acceptance, used in some states, including Arizona now. Universal acceptance is an attempt to make a national license, and universal acceptance says, hey, if you've been practicing a few years somewhere else, we really shouldn't be giving you a hard time about coming here, but you have to be a resident usually for universal acceptance. So my shorter answer is I suspect you can get reciprocity just about any place that you meet the educational requirements and take a national exam for. Universal acceptance is even easier. It doesn't even always require an exam, but you have to live there for universal acceptance, usually for at least a year. But I think if you're asking, could I apply right now for Colorado, not living in Colorado, yes, I think you could. Yeah. And by the way, I mean, you know, you could also get a P.O. box in Colorado and fill out the form. But yeah, I don't think it's a requirement, no. Yeah, because they don't want to discourage that, because what you're saying is I'm going to be in Colorado at some time and I want to be legal. So, short answer is no. You can have many, many licenses and you can apply for them before you get there. And you should, because sometimes there's red tape that takes much longer than you think. Dr. Tiffany Field, I feel like I've mentioned Dr. Tiffany Field before. She is still in charge of the Touch Institute in Florida. It is really, I dare say, the first institute to professionally, systematically research the power of touch on the human body. She's quite amazing. She's done all sorts of studies about how touch, a lot of really famous studies are on maternity massage, actually, and the effects that massage has on reducing labor pain, labor time, all this stuff. But she does all sorts of really interesting research on the powerful effects of touch. Touch on elderly and babies and everything. And instead of just saying, well, it feels good and we think it's good, she really researches it in the lab. And she's very famous for this because big medical companies don't research touch because they can't sell it. They want to research pharmaceuticals and new surgical procedures and things like that. There's not any money in researching touch. So thank God for Dr. Tiffany Field, because that's what she does. And she's amassed a lot of really good research that really does say touch is really a matter of life or death. And that there are measurable results. Before we were like, oh, massage feels good, I seem to be better, but you got to take my word for it. She's really got research to say, yeah, people really get better from massage. They feel better. She's been able to measure that their pain really goes down and that they get improved results from touch. Really, really neat. If you ever get bored, go on the internet and look up Dr. Tiffany Field research. Really interesting, but it is research, so it's really dry. But the conclusions are really interesting. Here's the MBLEX that we just talked about. And I think that is about it. We don't have to get into any of that. No, we're not going to. Yeah. So, let me stop sharing this. The other thing to kind of leave you with, before I release everything here, is that this is still a very open field. So, this is not pie in the sky. This is not me just trying to fill you full of hot air. Like, some of you really are very likely to discover new ways to work on a body, and new little tricks and such that get results. And things like taking deep tissue and following up with Swedish massage and getting quicker results, and or stretching wall massaging, or holding pressure points for 5 minutes or longer and finding out that they do something new, or things I can't even think about. I don't know. Or massage while you're in yoga positions, or all these things that could be incredibly beneficial. And there's a lot of stuff out there like that, but there's a lot of room still available. And it's a really neat field because you can practice it on somebody, and when one person gets better, you can be like, gosh. And then once you try it on 10 people and they all get better, you're onto something. And it didn't cost you any money or anything. I think it's very exciting to think that you might discover a new health modality and not kill anybody along the way. And what I mean by that is our other medical practices, we usually lose quite a few people along the way. We're like, we've got a great way to replace your heart with a new one. Oops, didn't work the first 100 times. But massage is not like that. What will happen is you'll have clients that don't get better, and you'll be like, that didn't work. And ones that do get better, and you'll be like, that did work. And you will discover completely new things. And then you'll come back and teach special classes to my students about this new, improved way to do something. So, learn your stuff really well and really think about when you're working on people, and play with your clients' bodies to kind of see and explore what works and what doesn't. Yeah. All right. Let's release homework, which is not a lot. Don't forget you got postural analysis, which is due Monday.